Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you to everybody that has joined us. So this is actually our 6th episode of Money Talks, and today I am super excited to be joined by Tolu Frimpong. Tolu, I will let you introduce yourself.
Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Tolu Frimpong and I'm a financial content creator and educator, and I'm very passionate about helping people transform their relationships with money. So I participate in workshops, speaking engagements, one-to-one budgeting and coaching, and just really helping people get good with their money matters.
Awesome, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
No, go on.
I've got to plug the podcast as well, and I also have a podcast called Not Another Money Podcast, where we have real conversations about money.
Nice, thank you. So before we get stuck into the many questions that you guys have all been sending in, I'd just like to ask, if you don't want to miss out on any more of our Money Talk webinars, please subscribe to get notifications. So we have had a lot of questions ahead of this. A lot of people are clearly thinking about back to school, rightly so, because it's August. So without further ado, we'll get stuck in. We're just going to, for the people watching live, we're just going to share a presentation with you all as well. So if you just give us one moment. So the first question, how can I save on back to school supplies?
Okay, that's a great question, and I think it's one that lots of parents are thinking about now as we're about to return to school in just over a week's time. I think the first thing I would say to that is to reuse items from last year. So I think when it's the end of the academic year, we just think, oh, I need to buy all new stuff for the year ahead. But actually, do we need all new things, or are there stuff that the kids had last year that they can reuse for this upcoming year? So I think before heading out to the shops or buying anything, take stock of what you do have and see what items are salvageable, what items have a good term left in them, and then make a list of the things that you want to buy. And I think once you have that list and you know exactly what you want to buy, I think head to the supermarket, so your Tesco, Asda, Primark, those are great places to head to for back to school clothes, and supplies as well, because it's very affordable. And also another idea could be to work with other parents and buy things in bulk and then divide that cost up. So places like Costco, you can buy pencils and pencil cases and things like that in bigger quantities and divide that cost amongst the parents, and in that way you get the same school supplies but at a cheaper cost. And that way, exactly. Bulk buying, exactly. Because we always think of bulk buying when it comes to food and things like that, but actually it can work for stationery and school supplies as well.
Awesome. Do you think as well that sometimes parents feel pressure to get new over?
Yes, exactly. That's another thing I would say. You can buy used items too. It's not everything that needs to be bought brand new. So even if you go on your local Facebook marketplace groups or on Vinted, on websites like that, even on Gumtree, you can find pre-loved, pre-used items. Even in your local Oxfam charity shops, you can pick up school supplies at a fraction of the price that you would buy it brand new, just by using pre-loved things.
Yeah, and what kind of on the pocket.
Exactly. And also, to that point actually, don't feel the pressure to buy them the most trending items as well. So when it comes to the back to school supplies, they don't necessarily have to have, I don't know what the latest craze is, but this water bottle that all the kids are getting at the moment, air hops I think they're called, these like £40-50 water bottles. All of those things are not essential for back to school. They need a water bottle, yes, but they don't need a water bottle that costs 50 quid.
Very true, very true. Okay, so on to the next one.
Yes.
Where are the best places to shop for back to school clothes?
Okay, so I think for back to school clothes, it depends on what you're after. So if you're looking for the more budget friendly option, I would say, again, your supermarkets like Tesco, Asda, Sainsbury's to an extent, to clothing can be quite affordable, and Primark as well, or Matalan, all of those kind of shops where you can get affordable school uniform for. I think second-hand is also an option too. So we spoke about second-hand for supplies, but equally the same can apply for uniform and things like that as well. You can buy pre-loved, you can speak to the school as well and see if they have stuff that has been used from kids previous years that have been left, like lost and found, things of that nature, that have been items that are nearly new as well. All of those things, speak to the school and see if you can buy those as well in order to have the stuff that they need for school but at a cheaper price. And then if you're going for the more luxurious, I guess, school uniform and a more long-lasting things, then you can go to places like John Lewis and Next and M&S, where you have uniform that costs a little bit more, but you probably get a lot more wear out of it.
No, that's fair. Because I think I was in Asda the other day, and it has like 100 wash guarantee now.
Oh really?
Yeah. I don't know. Don't take that as fact from me, people.
But if they're saying it, that's confidence.
The school uniform 100 times, but so that's quite good though, because then that, you know, you get that sense of longevity.
Yes, and I think to be honest, the quality has improved in the supermarket uniform versus a long time ago. Because I know when my niece and nephew were very young, their uniform, my sister was going through trousers like every other month for my nephew. Whereas actually now, my sons, I just buy their uniform once at the start of the year and it lasts the whole year.
That's so good.
Which is surprising,
Okay. So next question. So this question is, where are the best places to shop for supplies? So I know we touched on how we can save on them, but where's the go-to?
I guess the go-to places depends on your preferences. So you can pick up school supplies at places, again, like your local supermarket, so your Tesco, your Asda, even Lidl and Aldi actually have their back-to-school range as well. So you can get school supplies there at a cheaper price. And then also, like I mentioned before, you can do your bulk shopping at places like Costco and Viking as well. And then if you are looking for the discounted supplies, places like Poundland, B&M, you can get really cheap stationery from there too. So
for sure. So really my friend told me the other day that she'd bought loads of her, it was stationery, but she bought loads of it from Amazon.
Oh yes, of course, yes. Online as well. Places like Amazon, eBay, even you can get school supplies.
Probably cheaper to go to a shopping person though, so you'd have to pay delivery.
That's true as well. But I mean, if you have Prime, then it's fine. And then also, you have the benefit of next day delivery. So for those last minute shopping parents, you have that.
Any panic buyers.
Exactly.
Any panic buyers.
You do have Amazon as a last resort, definitely.
Okay, so next question. This is a very good one, because I went shopping yesterday and noticed a lot of people out and about with grumpy children. So when is the best time to shop for back to school stuff?
To be honest, the best time to shop for back to school stuff for this academic year has probably gone. It would have been a good time to do it at the end of the last academic year, so late July, early August.
Interesting.
But the next best time is now to shop for those back to school supplies. You want to do it as soon as possible so that you avoid that last minute rush, because that panic buying, I've been one of those parents before, and you're queuing up for like 2 hours outside the uniform shop, and they have like a free in, free out policy for you to get your uniform. You don't want that kind of stress. And also another great time actually to buy would be just after they've gone back to school, so early September. And the reason for that is the stores are ready to move on to the next promotion, so everything is discounted. So all the stuff that didn't sell, it's on discounted offer, so you can pick up supplies ahead of the next academic year. So what you could potentially do is size up on the school uniform and things like that, and you can like bulk buy on stationeries and keep that stuff so that you have it throughout the year for the children. So the best time would be as soon as possible. But ideally, you want to do it at the beginning of the year, so you want to do it just before the summer holidays start, or just as they go back to school to prepare for the next academic year.
That's very, very good advice. I wish all the panicky parents that I saw yesterday had done that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so on to the next one. Where is the best place to get back to school vouchers? So where are the best places?
Well, there's so many different places you can go to get discount vouchers that you can use for back to school supplies and just school supplies in general. I think Voucher Codes is a great website to go on, and Voucher Express is another great website that you can use. They have voucher codes which you can use across different retailers online. And then Groupon is a great one as well, because you can get loads of vouchers for special offer deals for various retailers. And then Honey is a great one that I like to tell people about. It's a browser extension that you can download onto your internet browser. So when you're shopping online, rather than having to go on websites like Voucher Codes in order to get a discount, what you can do is download that Honey extension. When you've added items to your basket, let's say in Tesco for example, you head to the checkout and it scans the internet to find all the discount codes possible that you can use for that purchase. If there's anything available, Honey's going to find it for you and apply it automatically to your basket before you check out.
That feels like a life hack.
It
I
is.
might need.
No, it's great.
Yeah. Wow.
And it works not just for school supplies, just generally shopping online.
Yeah.
Have that Honey extension browser, because it's going to take that you having to think about finding a voucher out of it. It does it automatically for you.
Awesome. So very, very quick plain saver plug though. Apologies, Tolu. So our members actually get access to a discount platform where you get money off all sorts of different high street stores. I think at the minute there's some on like M&S, Clark's, JD Sports.
Amazing.
So that will pretty much cover your back to school stuff. If
Oh,
you're
good.
not a member,
Sign up, yes, definitely.
Okay, so next question. Ooh.
Oh, I didn't even, oh, okay, yeah,
Go
actually, we've gone into this, that's fine, yeah, next one.
So what are your secret back to school hacks for parents?
Okay, so back to school hacks, I've got quite a few written down. We start at the top and work our way through the list. So I think the first thing I would say is have a shopping list, so have a plan before you hit the stores.
Yeah.
So know exactly what it is you're buying. So we spoke earlier about having that inventory of what the kids can use from last year and things you need to buy new. When you head to the stores, have that list with you and refer to it as your shopping, so that you don't end up spending double the amount you intended to pay. So yeah, I think definitely have that list, stick to that list, because the temptation to buy all the other special offer items is real, and we want to do our best to kind of combat that. I think also shopping out of season, so I touched on that before.
Yes.
So preparing for next year, if you're buying a uniform now, you can buy maybe double and size up for next year. And a lot of times the offers that they have is like buy one get one free, or buy one get one half price, so then you can save the half price one for next year. So you can do it that way. I think label everything as well. So my children, when it comes to their uniform, they go to school at the start of the year with the brand new uniform. And then they come back with somebody else's jumper that is not brand new. And I'm just like, how did you make that mistake? You left with a pristine jumper and you've come back with this old jumper. So I think label everything is so important. Even with the labels, the uniform can still go missing. So it's essential to make sure everything is labelled and they know exactly what is theirs. I think also when it comes to packed lunches, if your children have packed lunches and take packed lunches to school, we want to make sure that we prep them the night before, so that we're not panic prepping on the morning of when they're going to school, because I think doing things like that just creates for a more stressful start to the day for the little ones and for you as well. So we want to pack the bags the night before, prepare the packed lunch the night before, so that on the morning of they know exactly what they have to take to school with them, and it's just hopefully as seamless as possible a transition for them going back to school. I think also swapping out clothes that they've outgrown is another idea to save money back to school. So swapping with other parents who have children maybe same age but bigger size than your children, that could be an option, so that you're not having to buy everything brand new again. And I think the last thing I'd say is screen time. So I know this seems a bit random, we're talking about back to school savings, but I think as we're preparing for the children to go back to school next week, we want to try and ease them off of the screens so that they get used to kind of sitting and paying attention for a bit when they go back to school next week, so that it's not too overwhelming for them when they go back to school and they're having to pay attention to the class teacher for hours.
Definitely. No, that makes a lot of sense, and I guess like the bedtime routine and things like that.
Absolutely, yes.
That's
a big one, actually. Exactly, because even with my boys now, I'm trying to get them back into the routine of going to bed before 8, because over the summer holidays they've been going to bed like after 9, sometimes 10 o'clock. So it's trying to get them back into the routine of going to bed early, and it's been a bit of a fight over the last couple of days. So I'm like, no, it's still light outside, and I'm like, it doesn't matter, it's the night time, you need to go to bed.
You feel like Jon Snow, winter is coming.
Exactly. So I think definitely try to get them prepared with the bedtime routine from now, so that it's not too strenuous when they go back to school.
Yeah, for sure. And also for parents as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, you save yourself a battle later on down the line.
Right, exactly. So everyone kind of gets eased into the new routine.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that one. Okay, so the next question. Oh, this is a good one. So how much is after school childcare, and how can I save money on this?
Excuse me. So I think childcare, it can vary depending on where you live and depending on who the childcare provider is, obviously. But I think anything between £50 to £150 you can be paying, depending on location, for childcare. And I think to save money on childcare, it's important to open a tax-free childcare account. If you don't have one, it's a lifesaver. I was one of those parents that didn't know about the tax-free childcare until my first child was like 5. So
Wow.
for years I was missing out on that extra money that I could have been getting from the government top up. So now I'm always thinking about it to all my friends, make sure you sign up for this tax-free childcare account so that you're getting that government top up, which is basically for every £100 you pay in, the government paying 20%.
Yeah.
And top up to a maximum, I think it is £1,000 per term, or it's every year actually. Yeah, it's up to £2,000 per year for every child that the government will top up potentially.
A lot
Exactly.
of money.
It's a lot of money.
Okay.
But I was
you don't
missing
have
out.
that, get one.
No, absolutely, yeah. Because when I found out about it, I was gutted. I was like, why did nobody tell me this? I'm sure it was written somewhere in the paperwork, but I just missed out on it completely. So
That's really useful.
it's so important, yeah. Open tax-free saving account, and if you're you have to obviously check the childcare provider is signed up to it, because if they're not signed up to it, then you won't be able to use it.
Okay, good advice.
Oh, and of course, something I did mention, family, friends and neighbours as well. Use your community, use your network as much as you can to reduce those costs as well. So even when it goes to things like the school run, for example, I remember like last year, some of the mums, we literally live on the same road and we're all walking to drop our kids to school. And it was only like towards the end of the term that one of us mentioned it to the other, like, actually, why don't we just pick up each other's kids instead, rather than having to do the school run every day. Now you're only doing it 3 days a week because you're sharing it with another parent. So I think things like that make a big difference.
Definitely. Okay, so next question. This is another big one. I feel like you have no easy ones today. I'm going to uni soon. Do you have any tips for students to save money?
Oh, absolutely. Gosh, if I remember back to when I was a uni student many moons ago now, I think I would say cook at home as much as you can. As a student, I get that you're very busy and you just don't want to spend time cooking, but it will save you a fortune if you cook your own food, and it's probably a lot more nutritious for you as well if you prepare your own meals as often as you can. I'm not saying every single day you need to be in the kitchen cooking, because that's not practical and realistic, but at the same time, eating out every day, ordering delivery every other day, it's going to eat into your money very quickly, and it's probably not the best diet for you as well. So
probably not.
exactly. So definitely cook at home as much as you can. I would tell students. I'd also say, of course, to sign up for your NUS card. If you haven't signed up for that, because you get discount across so many different retailers. I was so sad when my NUS time came to an end. I was paying full price for things again.
It is a depressing time, isn't it? The transition
from
student to adult.
Like, what? I have to pay full price for my clothes at New York now. So
make the most of it, though.
Definitely make the most of it. What else would I say? Oh, of course, when it comes to school books, your textbooks for your course, try and buy second-hand ones if you can, so you can get them on eBay, you can get them on Amazon, you can get them even from the school library. You can ask for the ones that people are reselling, so that you're not paying full price for all your textbooks. You could even potentially share books with friends, so if you've got somebody on the same course as you, you can maybe go halves on a book and share that book, as opposed to paying full price for it brand new. I would also say budget. Create a budget. So important as a student to have a budget, have a plan for your money. So depending on if you get like student loan, for example, that comes in termly, so it's so important to have a plan for that money, because it can go very quickly if you're not intentional about what you're doing with that money. So create a budget. The budget isn't restrictive, it actually is kind of liberating, because when you have a plan for your money, you know exactly where it's going and you feel more in control of it, and it gives you a lot more confidence with managing your finances. So I would say definitely create that budget. I would also say part-time job if possible, if you can pick up extra shifts or anything just to supplement your income on the side. It's definitely a worthwhile thing to do. I'd also say avoid those banks at Freshers Fair. So I was that student at Freshers Fair signing up for all of these bank accounts so that I could get this free money. That's what I heard anyway. It was free money, but it wasn't free money. It was money that once I graduated, I had to pay back with interest. So avoid it if you can, getting into the trap of taking out this overdraft and spending other people's money, because you're gonna have to pay that money back. And what tends to happen is when it comes time to paying that money back, you don't even remember what you spent that money on.
Yeah.
But you're
Yeah.
still left with that debt. So yeah, avoid it at all costs. And I'd say also finally just to stay off social media as much as you can, because I feel like peer pressure and societal pressures for you to overspend are heightened when you're on these apps constantly, because you're constantly seeing things that you feel like you need to have when you might not necessarily need to have it.
Yeah, that's a tough one though, isn't
It
it?
is.
That is a tough one. I think, so I see a lot of people just take social media breaks.
Yes.
So even that could potentially
Yeah, that's
help.
definitely, that could help. I'm not saying don't go on the apps because you don't want to be ostracized from your friends and stuff like that, but I'm just saying limit your usage of these apps. So you don't want to be spending 5-6 hours a day on Instagram, because that's going to make you spend money that you don't want to spend.
Definitely, and stop following Gucci.
Exactly. That's a good one. Yes, exactly. Unfollow all of those brands, because they're just going to make you spend money that you have no business spending. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So next one. Having the kids home for summer has made things more expensive, understandably. So what tips can you give to save during the school holidays?
Yes, so during the school holidays, there's loads that you can do to keep those costs down. I think one thing I'd say actually is it's okay for children to be bored, because I fell into that trap with my children last summer where every day I had a schedule, I had a plan, I was taking them up and down and everywhere. And one day when we didn't have a plan, the kids were bouncing off the walls like, what are we going to do? I'm so bored, I'm so bored.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can just be bored, sit in that boredom, it's okay, it's not going to kill you. And in that time, they were able to start creatively doing things. So all of a sudden, they're doing arts and crafts, they're building things, they're making things with the Lego, they're playing like fake campsites in their room, and they're just being creative and having fun,
And
because
just being kids.
Exactly, because they had that free idle time. So I think sometimes as parents we want to always keep them busy and find things for them to do, but actually if you just leave them alone for a little bit, they start coming up with ideas for themselves. So I think that would save you some money. So if for the 5 days of the week, for example, maybe 2 of those days can be at home days where the kids can actually entertain themselves, and you'll be surprised with what they're able to come up with when they're given that space to do so. And I think outside of that, when it comes to activities, there are so many low-cost alternative things that you can do. So you don't have to take them to places like Kids Space and Gambardo's and all these places where it's really expensive entry, particularly if you have multiple children. It quickly adds up. I have 4, so I know it gets very expensive very quickly to take your kids to all these places. So this summer we enjoyed loads of parks. So I know the weather's been a bit challenging, but if you just wrap them up warm, put on their like waterproof clothes, they're good to go. Take them to parks, take them to nature trails, take them to museums, even the local library, they have loads of activities on for the kids during summer holidays. There was outdoor cinemas that you can take them to. We took our kids to a couple in King's Cross. So there's so many different activities that you can do that are inexpensive. I would also say lean again into your community. So play dates are so good because the kids get to entertain each other, parents get a break because you get to hang out with other parents, and it doesn't have to cost you any money. You can literally come around to each other's houses or take the kids to parks and things of that nature as well. So I think just really getting creative with the things you do without breaking the bank.
Yeah, so it's probably worth then for people to research locally, isn't it? Like what's going on, and a lot of that might be free. Or very low cost.
Yes, at your local library, for example, you get loads of flyers of all the different activities that are happening in your area that summer. So take advantage of them. I know in Croydon, for example, we had a beach at Croydon Whitgift Centre, totally free, and kids could go there all day or 3 hours of the day. But that's a good amount of time. And it's totally free entry. They had like fake sand, fake water, everything. And it's a good time, and it literally cost me nothing. Took my packed lunch. And took the kids down, and we had a great time. So there's options out there.
That's another really good point actually. When you are on days out with the kids, take you on that lunch. Like when you go like, I don't know, like a zoo or something like that, theme park, it's so expensive to eat there.
Absolutely.
Like the audacity.
It's so funny you should say that, because growing up, I remember my mum always taking up, when we used to go on these trips, my mum always bringing coolers with food and drinks. Oh really? And it used to be so embarrassing. No, it's not at all. Even when I was a child, it wasn't normal. It used to be. I used to be so annoyed. I'd want Burger King. I want to eat the rice that you brought for me.
Of course.
But now I've turned into my mum. Wherever we go, I'm taking packed lunch. I literally always have food for the kids with me, because it just adds up so quickly.
It does.
You want to buy ice cream just for the 4 children, and it's 20 quid, just like that. So packed lunch is a game changer.
Good advice. Okay, so moving on to the next
Oh, that's a good
one.
one actually. So I missed out on that one
No,
as
go on.
well in terms of taking advantage of the kids eat free. So there's loads of restaurants across London that do kids eat free. Asda, for example, they have it. Dunelm, am I saying the shop properly?
Yeah.
They've got a restaurant in there. Pause the Cafe, I think it's called. They do kids eat for £1. There's so many. If you literally Google kids eat free restaurants, you find lists of different restaurants where kids can either eat for free or eat for £1 with a paying adult. So it's worth taking advantage of that too.
If only that was available at the theme parks and the zoo.
Exactly.
Why don't we do it there?
That is when we really need it.
We'll get on to that.
Exactly.
So the next one. Oh, this is a very interesting one. How much should I give my kids as an allowance?
That is a good question.
Yeah.
And I think, to be honest, it is kind of dependent on you. Like every parent, it's at their discretion whether they want to give kids pocket money or not and the amount. I'd say as a, I guess, starting point, maybe £10 to £20 per week for the child. That's of teenage years, so that's what, just under £100 a month.
Yeah.
You could potentially give them, and in younger children, maybe £20 a month, just for them to learn the principles of money. So as much as for a while I resisted giving my children an allowance because I didn't grow up with that. So for me, why am I just paying you for being a child? However, I do believe there are loads of money principles and lessons that you can teach children by giving them this pocket money. So things like reward for working. So teaching them the value of money in that way. So maybe monetizing chores and things in the house. So I don't think kids should be paid to make their beds, for example. I feel like everyone should just make their bed, it's your bed. But I feel like there's extra things that are outside of their normal everyday commitment to their house that they can be paid for. So maybe things like helping with the gardening or washing the car or something that's in addition to the normal everyday household responsibilities. You can potentially pay them for that. So they're learning the value of working, and it's also teaching them a bit of financial responsibility as well, because they kind of start to grasp the concept of, okay, if I work, then I can get paid, and then they can learn how to manage their money as well. I think there's a question about that later on, which we can dive into a bit more detail then.
Okay. Next one. The good ones keep coming.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Do you have tips to help my children value the stuff I buy them? I keep having to buy new school shoes and pens because they just don't look after them.
Tell me about it. That has been my experience so many times with my children, and I think again it goes back to the last question quite nicely in terms of teaching them the value of £1 and teaching them the value of the things that they have, because as a child you don't really have the concept of money or the fact that things cost money, and even if you hear this costs money, what does that mean to a child? They don't really understand it. But I think if you then link it back to the allowance and understanding, okay, this shoe that I've just damaged without paying any care to it costs £50. For me to save £50 is going to take me 2 years. They start to grasp that, oh wow, this stuff costs a lot of money, and hopefully they become more mindful of it. And I think also modelling that behaviour for children as well, because if you're that parent that I guess is quite careless with your things, they kind of pick up on that. So even though you're not telling the child to behave in that way, they're learning through observation. So you come in, you kick off your shoes, and then that's it. They're going to do the same thing because they're just modelling what you're doing. So they're not really listening to what you're saying. They're just doing what they see you do. So I think it's so important to model these types of behaviour for our children. I think also get them to, how can I say it? Not give them warnings, but basically explain to them consequences. That's what I'm trying to say. Explain to them consequences of their actions. So, okay, I bought you this pencil case, it has X, Y, Z item in it, and I expect you to take good care of it and look after it. If this goes missing, or if you're not looking after it, I see you're just scribbling on the walls, or just breaking it for no reason, then you're going to have to pay for it, and just actually following through on these things as well.
So if you say it, you've got to do it, right? Exactly. If you say it, you need to do it, and just following through on it. So I think shoes might be too big for them to replace, or maybe even contribute towards the replacement of it if they're damaging it just by being reckless. Because obviously wear and tear happens. You understand that. But if I just bought you those shoes, those kicker shoes today, and you'll come back next week and they've got a big hole in it, I'm going to say you haven't been taking care of them, as opposed to it being wear and tear. So I think obviously use your discretion, but I think reward them, and then also take
allowance away from them if you need to kind of teach them the value of money, the value of the things. I think also as well, just teaching them how much things actually cost, so showing it to them when you're out and about also helps as well. So like with my children now, when we go supermarket shopping, for example, I'm always showing them the prices of things on the shelf, so they're starting to grasp how much things cost, because grandma's always giving them money, so they just always get money. So for them, money is just this thing that grandma just gives me, so they just have loads of it. But when they start to understand, okay, grandma gave me £3 or £5, and to them they just think £5. But then when you go to the shop and you see what £5 can buy, you want the Lego, which is £200. That £5 is not buying that £200 Lego. So then they're starting to grasp, oh wow, things actually cost a lot of money, and it takes time to save up for these things. So it's just really trying to teach them those money lessons.
Do you think, in your experience with your own kids, does it shock them?
Yes, big time.
Yeah.
The first time we took them shopping, we took them to Smith's with their purses and their money, and they had, bless them, they went around the store saying, I'm gonna buy this, I'm gonna buy this, I'm gonna buy this. And then every time I showed them the price and how much they had, it's like their little hearts just sunk. They're like, oh, I don't have enough money. It's like, because things cost a lot of money. So when I'm telling you to look after your toys and you're just throwing things around and breaking things without taking care of them, you're understanding, oh wow, this is a lot of money that I'm just wasting. So yeah, definitely, they were very shocked when they realised how expensive things really are. Bless one of my sons, he's still saving up for this £300 Lego because he really, really wants it, but it's so expensive, and I'm like, I'm not buying that. It is for Lego. Because you build it once and it's done, that's the thing.
But I mean, I know there's a lot of people who get passionate about it.
Oh yeah, so he's very
I'm
passionate about it.
I'm not going to cast judgment on him. You know?
It's just such an expensive hobby.
It is. It really is.
It's like, can't you just collect Pokemon cards?
Oh, bless him. Okay, so the next one. My child wants to take up an instrument, but it's quite expensive. Do you have any advice to save on this?
Yes, it can be very expensive instruments. Especially if it's like a stringed instrument or one of those.
They are a lot of money.
It costs a lot, exactly. And if you've got multiple children that like different instruments, oh my gosh, it could quickly add up to a lot. So what I would say, first of all, is to see if you can buy used versions of those items. So look on eBay, like I said before, Facebook Marketplace, Gumtree, shop around to see if you can get that same instrument at a cheaper price. Also speak to the school, see what kind of clubs that they have, where they can potentially subsidise some of those costs, or even borrow you those instruments for them to practice at home. If they join like a school band and things like that, they do that at some schools, to see what's available there. I would also say check your local council for school offers as well, because a lot of them do have music programs in your local area, local community. So see what programs they have available and see what instruments they have, because they will be subsidised compared to if you were just to go to the music shop and buy it brand new. But also with those music shops, actually see if they have the option to rent the equipment as well. So maybe speak to your local music shop, see what rental options that are possibly available, so that you can rent that instrument. Because what you may find with children as well, their interests change. So you spend all this money on a brand new guitar, and next week he decides he wants to play drums, and you just spend all that money for something that they haven't committed to. So I would say those are some of the ways you could potentially bring those costs down.
Thank you. Okay, so next one. I work full time and have 3 kids. I want them all to eat healthy for school lunch, but also want it to be quick to sort out. Do you have any advice for this?
Yes. My sons have been requesting packed lunch for the longest of time, and this is one of the reasons why I'm like, I'm not doing it, because I know the time it takes to prepare and think of meals for them every day. But I would say to the parents that are doing packed lunch for their children, is planning is your best friend and meal prepping is your best friend. So Sunday afternoons will be a great time to do meal prep for the week ahead. So you don't actually every morning need to be making packed lunch. You can do a lot of it on the Sunday for the week ahead. So you can make the sandwiches, maybe make pasta salad, just simple meals that they can eat that are still nutritious, other things you want to do. I think also with packed lunches as well, they've got these cute little packed lunch boxes where they have different compartments, so you can kind of gauge what needs to be in the meal for the child. So it kind of takes the planning out of it for you, so you know that okay, there's a section for sandwich, section for fruit, section for yogurt, section for crisps, and you can kind of just go with the layout from that container. And then also you can send them with leftovers from the day before. So they do have food warmers that you can take to school with your packed lunch. So heat up yesterday's dinner and the leftovers, put it in a container for them to take to school for lunch the next day. So I think just a little bit of planning and thinking ahead. Try not to leave it on until the morning of them going to school, because that's when you just rush and panic and just give them anything to get them out of the house,
exactly,
which we want to try and avoid doing.
Okay. Next one. Do you have any tips for talking to my children about money and savings?
Yes, so I do actually. When it comes to, well, we've touched on it a little bit already, but I would say try and teach them the concept of spending, saving, and giving. Giving is not for everybody, but for me, I do believe that they should learn that concept of those 3 ways of managing their money, and you can do that with a piggy bank. So they can literally have 3 piggy banks, one for those 3 items, for those 3 pots, and then when they get any money, just teach them to divide it into those 3 pots. So this is the amount of my, let's say, £5 a week allowance. I'm going to put £2 in spending, £2 in saving, £1 in giving, and then just teaching them that concept that all the money doesn't just need to be spent. Some of it can be used to do other things. So we can use it to save towards future goals, but equally we can take it and be a blessing to somebody else as well. So even things like friends' birthdays, for example, you can put that money towards their birthday gift, and just teaches them, I guess, to be more nicer human beings and not so self-absorbed. So I'd say that definitely helps. I think that's another great way to teach them about money is savings trackers. So I like using them as well myself as an adult. So for kids it's brilliant in terms of setting them financial goals. So let's say, for example, like my son, for example, I mentioned him saving up for this Lego set. So he can have a colouring in tracker, and every time he saves money towards it, you can colour in that big Lego box, and then eventually, once you've coloured the whole sheet in, you've saved up enough money to buy that item. So it's really reinforcing that value of delayed gratification, and once I can achieve this big goal if I work towards it bit by bit, and then visually seeing the steps that they're taking to achieve that bigger goal. So things like that help to teach them the value of money, teach them delayed gratification, and teach them how to save towards a goal and not being too impulsive. So there's like literally money lessons you can teach them. Also in the supermarkets, I touched on that before as well, in terms of showing them the prices of things so that they understand how much things cost, because if you don't see it, you don't necessarily know what it is. So in their head, they're just thinking, this thing, you just use the card to buy it. But when they see the monetary value next to things, they start to understand, this costs this amount, and so on and so forth. And I think also showing them price comparisons helps as well, so they can understand the differences in prices of items. So for example, just keep it simple, something like bread. So there's different prices for bread depending on the name that you're buying. So there's all these different variations of bread, and they all come at different price points. And just having these conversations with them while you're in the supermarket, explaining that some things cost more because of the branding and the packaging, some things cost less because they're the more affordable range. It's just really having these money conversations with them as you're shopping in the store. You'll be surprised at how much they pick up just by you having these conversations while you're out and about in real life situations, rather than just keeping it in the house. I think when you're out and about, just really have those money conversations when you're in those scenarios. Even little things like giving them your card to pay when you're in the store, for example, so that they're understanding that, in order to get these items, I have to pay. If you could do it with cash, that's even better, because then they can see the physical exchange. But even just explaining to them the concept of a bank and all of these things. There's also books actually that they can read. I haven't got any names off the top of my head, but we can add it in the caption afterwards, in terms of financial education books for kids, how to teach kids about money. Because I've come across a few on my social media pages, and I'm like, these are brilliant resources for children to help teach children about money.
That's really useful.
Thank you.
Right, next question.
I didn't finish.
Oh, go on.
Okay, other examples in terms of leading by example. So I think the best way to teach children is through modelling behaviour. So if you've said to your children, for example, we're going to Asda to buy milk, and then you get to Asda and you end up buying milk and bread and cookies and a magazine and a dress, and you end up leaving the store with 20 items, you're subconsciously teaching them something about money and how impulsive you can be, and how you're not really committed to what you're saying. So they're gonna subconsciously take that in and think, I can just buy what I want when I want it, even though it's not what I initially set out to do. So I think it's just so important to be mindful of what we're teaching our children about money when we're not vocally teaching them about money, because they learn a lot from what they see us doing.
Yeah. So I remember when I was a kid, my mum used to keep us on track by letting me and my sister have the list.
Oh, lovely.
And then we had to find the things.
I like that.
So because you're so engulfed in finding what you need on the shopping list, there's no pressure from your kids then.
Yes.
We weren't saying, no, Mum, I want this, I want this. Because we were just hunting for the next thing.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to start doing that with my boys, actually. That's
try
great.
it. It's like a little treasure hunt.
Yeah.
Might have caused a few arguments, but...
No, that's a brilliant idea, actually. I'm actually going to start doing that with my boys.
Stops us from getting distracted
by
stuff.
buy out stuff in the store. I like that. And it's everyone getting involved, team effort.
Yeah. Okay, so next one. Best savings accounts for children.
Okay, so in terms of savings accounts, I can't specify or recommend specific accounts because I'm not a financial advisor, but what I can say is different types of accounts that I would say parents should have for their children. So I think for me, growing up, my parents always had like a savings account for me, but what I didn't know about were ISA accounts and junior ISA accounts, and this is something that I recommend parents have for their children because these are tax-free savings accounts that they can open for their children. So any interest that they're earning in those accounts, they can keep that interest tax-free. They don't have to pay any taxes on it, which is great. And their allowance every year is up to £9,000. So you could potentially save £9,000 per year tax-free for your children in these accounts. And I think stocks and shares ISA account would be a great one to open for your children as well, because it's basically an investment account for your kids. So it's one thing having a savings account, that's good, but one step better would be to have that investment account for them, so that the money is getting a chance to beat inflation, the money is getting an opportunity to grow, because you can invest in different kind of things through your investment account. That's for you to do research, that's a long conversation for another day, but the main thing there is that the money grows at a faster rate when you invest it. And that's, I know a lot of people when you hear investing, they get scared, like, no, I can't invest, because they don't understand it. But you don't understand that the money that we keep in our savings account is being invested anyway by the bank. So it's like, why don't we take some of that power into our hands as well, invest some of that money so that we too can enjoy some of the interest that money can make, rather than just settling for the bare minimum interest that you get when you just keep it in a savings account. So yeah, just to summarize the different accounts, you can have the junior cash ISA account, the junior stocks and shares ISA account, and then the standard savings account, which is what a lot of parents probably already have for their children. But if there's one thing to take away, is to look into that investment account for your children, because their money can potentially grow a lot more if you're investing in the right thing. So just for example, my children's accounts, I've got a junior stocks and shares ISA account through which I invest in index funds. And I looked at the index funds the other day, their account, and I couldn't believe the return was at 22%. So I was like, wow, 22% on the money in the account. And it's not just on the money I put in, it's on the interest as well. So the power of compounding is working in their account. So I tell all my friends about it. Open an ISA account, stocks and shares ISA account for them, and invest in it. Index funds. I like index funds because they're the easiest things for me to invest in, because I'm not the most savvy when it comes to investing, but I know index funds, you're investing in like multiple companies at the same time, so it's probably one of the less riskier investing strategies. So it's definitely worth looking into. So yeah, just the last thing then, the last thing that I wanted to mention, I saw this when I was preparing for today's session. I was like, oh, this is brilliant, I have to tell everyone about it. So Aldi are currently doing a back to school fund where customers can get a chance to apply for vouchers worth £100. So you just have to submit your email to aldbtsfund@citypress.co.uk by 30th of September, and they're going to choose 100 people at random to get a £100 voucher to go towards their school expenses for their children. So
that's amazing. We will share that information with the attendees and on our socials as well. Well, thank you so much, Tolu, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Really, really useful, and I hope that everybody watching has managed to take away at least, I don't know, 6 tips as a minimum. Okay? Thank you.
Thanks for having me.